All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Zero Dark Nerdy, the world's most notorious pop culture podcast. This is your boy Brian, a.k.a. El Nino, and I am joined with...
Nicole, a.k.a. Il Mama.
That's right.
Nickname!
Ryan Saber, Captain Cleveland Browns, Cavs, Indians. That's it.
Oh, you didn't want to keep going and going?
No, they already know. Big show.
On today's episode, we're going to be talking about one of our favorite channels, HBO, all things HBO, primarily TV shows, series, all that fun stuff. We're going to go over, top 5 shows, documentary series, all that, some favorite characters, and talking about their, most recent / latest lineup we have going on. So, to start the festivities today, we're going to go with Captain Cleveland over here.
So, the way I looked at this, I did my top 5 shows, and I took more of like a philosophical approach to it and kind of talked about what the show means to society. It's crazy.
Like, did you though?
It's crazy. I started out going...
It's like, that's new.
Because a lot of people may not have seen some of these shows.
True. Very true.
So,
Very true.
Instead of kind of going into what it is, I talk about what I feel like it means to society.
The cultural significance of these shows.
Exactly. Before I get into my top 5 honorable mentions.
Get them in there.
The 30-minute comedies on HBO are outstanding. There's one that I haven't watched that a lot of people that I work with, and I don't know if any of you are going to talk about this, but apparently the show Veep is like one of the best shows on TV. I haven't seen it. It's on my sort of queue to watch next. Mm-hmm. But Silicon Valley, Crashing, and Vice Principals are 3 shows that... Crashing and Vice Principals are not on anymore. Silicon Valley is the next season is the last season.
Oh, did they wrap up Crashing? That was the last season?
Yeah, it was sort of one of those. when it was over, they didn't get enough people watching it.
Damn,
so
I really like
that was a really good show. Very awkward.
Sure.
Right.
Maybe. But those are honorable mentions for me. Okay. Boardwalk Empire, number 5. 2010, 2014, 5 seasons. Prohibition era crime epic. It's set primarily in New Jersey and New York. To me, it's very much about sort of the American way of power.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
And how it matured in the 1920s. It's, this sort of mix of charismatic persuasion with brute force, right? You have this sort of guy of Nucky Thompson who's this public figure who seems to be one thing in the public eye, but, behind the scenes, he's really he's a gangster.
Yeah.
But he doesn't do any of it himself. But watch the show.
Yeah.
My favorite character from Boardwalk Empire, I talked about it in our Villains episode from season 1. So if you haven't listened to that podcast, I suggest you do it. But my favorite character from Boardwalk Empire is Chip Rossetti. He is the villain, the main antagonist of season 3, played by Bobby Cannavale.
Such a beast.
He's ruthless. He's frightening. That season 3 was the last great season of Boardwalk Empire. Seasons 1, 2, and 3 are outstanding, but Chip Rossetti is, he's outstanding, and he is my favorite character from that show. Number 4. Eastbound and Down.
Woo!
2009, 2013, there was 4 seasons. It's a defiantly vulgar season, defiantly vulgar series about the humbling of a has-been redneck baseball player. There's really no other way to describe it. Danny McBride, he just does an outstanding job of making this fucking scumbag piece of shit.
The Jose Canseco of pitching.
Yeah.
Likable. And watchable, and obviously favorite characters, Kenny Powers, vulgar, brash. He's just he's just in your face, fuck you.
I've been blessed with many things in this life. An arm like a damn rocket, a cock like a Burmese python, and the mind of a fucking scientist.
He is outstanding. Number 3, Entourage, 2004, 2011, 8 seasons. It's a show about friendship and loyalty. It's movie star brings friends along for the ride.
Yep.
It's one part showbiz satire combined with the male fantasy.
Yep.
Right? Money, women, fame.
Money, cash, hoes?
Yeah, and
Tell 'em.
And just really, it's constant Spring Break.
Yeah.
You know, like it's that showbiz satire mixed with that male fantasy.
I like to call it Sex and the City for men.
Yeah, that's probably,
but on a Hollywood level.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree that's probably a good characterization of it. You know, some of the acting wasn't always great in that show,
of course,
and sometimes the story dragged along a little bit. Mm-hmm. But it was always entertaining, and you knew something exciting was always around the corner. Even in the last couple seasons after it jumped the shark, when, you know, Vince was addicted to blow and he's banging fucking porn stars. Like, there was still excitement. There was still things coming. Favorite character, you know, Ari Gold, you know, the sociopath super agent. You know, he's just full of attitude. Mm-hmm. He's full of bravado. He always had the lines.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think honorable mention is Johnny Drama. I think I would argue that Johnny Drama makes that fucking show tick.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Like, he is outstanding, great character, great sort of supporting character. Number 2, Sopranos, 99 to 2007. You know, at face value, this is a show about a mob boss's family life, right? But it's so much more than that. It's an education on business ethics. It's an education on the petty abuse of power. Yeah. It's an education on us as people justifying ourselves and our actions when we're at our worst. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a show about a protagonist, an anti-hero, who's relatable, right? He's the everyman. But, you know, the thing about Tony Soprano is even if he liked you, he was willing to take everything you had and then make you feel sorry for him because you didn't thank him for doing it. Right. Very relatable. You know, my favorite character in that show is Tony Soprano. Like I said, relatable. He's likable, but he's despicable. And then finally, the greatest show ever created. I've watched this series at least 4 times. I tried to restart it last week. Okay. I will get back into it, but I'm watching so many other things right now that it's hard. It's The Wire, 2002, 2008, 5 seasons. I think it's the best show ever.
Wow. Wow.
I honestly, I think that, you know.
I like it. No, I like it.
You know, it's subjective. Mm-hmm. It's just it's a show. It's the masterful detail of cat and mouse game between law enforcement and drug dealers in Baltimore. And it really, more than that, it dissects the city's institutions and it documents how they fail people, how they fail everybody. It's really an American urban tragedy. It's like a Shakespearean tragedy about a city in America. Each season focuses on a different group of people. Season 1's the drug dealers. Season 2 is like the seaport, the docks. Yep. Season 3 is the government. Season 4 is the schools. And then Season 5 final is the media, and just how each one of those institutions fails the people and is corrupted. Favorite character. This is one of my favorite characters of any show, and it's Russell Stringer Bell, played by Idris Elba. He's the second in command in the Barksdale organization. He's their chief strategist. He's not just some fucking thug, right?
Right.
Like, I think until that time, anytime there was a show about drug dealers and sort of petty crime and not necessarily organized crime, they portrayed all of these characters and people as just sort of thugs. And he was not that. You know, he was going to business school. He thought about economics. He, was always sort of pushing the organization to do more things, to become legit, to get their money in other places. And
he was like a mogul.
He was, and obviously when Avon went to jail, he took over the organization and ultimately became his downfall.
Right.
But Russell Stringer Bell is an outstanding character. Those are my favorite shows.
Some good ones right
Hard
there.
To follow there.
Ooh. Sabadamas, as I usually call them, the philosophical. I'm actually going to keep that in there. I'm like in my head, I'm going to edit the shit out of that, but no, I'll leave that in.
I like it.
We're real people here. Nicole, what do you got going on over here?
I have these in no particular
Oh,
order.
no, mine are not in order, so you're good. You're in good company.
Let's see. Let's start with the ones that are no longer playing. So, True Blood, obviously.
Yes.
Good show.
Around the time when Twilight came out, which,
Boo.
I know.
But
it was like the vampire
It was a craze.
romantic comedies.
Vampire Diaries, Twilight, there was a ton of shit out.
All of them came out around the same time. Well, True Blood was surprising because it was supposedly, filmed in Louisiana. Some of it was, not all of it.
Right.
Favorite characters there were Suki and Eric and
Suki.
Lafayette. One of my favorite characters. Suki was like the very innocent, Southern
at first.
girl. Oh no, she was sexually active for sure, but she was just so
very active.
freaking cute.
I like the way she just said she was sexually active.
She was sexually active. But she was so cute.
Just
Spoiler alert.
Just fucking
innocent.
vampires. Recklessly.
Fucked them all.
Yeah, she
Her
did.
little
With no
and
friends.
werewolves.
Yeah.
She was fucking the werewolves, too.
She was.
Yeah.
Eric Northman.
Yes.
I loved his character.
Outstanding. Didn't love it when he, went good or whatever. Like, he was always...
He lost his memory.
Yeah, right.
That's
but he was always better when he was sort of the
badass.
sheriff,
Badass.
the bad sheriff or whatever. Yeah.
Loved it. Didn't like him with feelings.
No.
And then Lafayette, the flamboyant.
Yeah.
Witch.
He was great.
He was awesome.
Yeah.
I loved his character. I loved what he brought to the table. He brought something different.
Yeah.
I really
rewatched True
And I'm glad
Blood.
he stayed around. I never read the books, but apparently in the books, Lafayette dies like book 1. So I'm really glad that they kept him going. Yeah.
Well, he was a very strong character.
Yeah.
Very strong.
Great character.
Second, we got Game of Thrones,
Yep.
obviously.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Game of Thrones was one of those shows where you didn't have to watch the first one because those fucking characters were dead anyway.
Yeah, and it doesn't
You
matter
could pick
because
up at any point.
you forget what happened. There's so much shit happening you would forget.
Not just
anyway.
that, but each season had 2 years in between. So
That's right.
it made it very difficult to follow. But if you rewatched them and kept up with them, it was a phenomenal show until the last season. The last season was garbage, but I feel like it was kind of thrown together very quickly.
Really was.
Favorite characters, though, Jon Snow.
Always.
Arya Stark. And, of course, Tyrion, because he was the humor. He was the comedy
He's
relief
comic
we
relief.
needed.
Yeah.
He was, and he was...
But he was so smart, too. It wasn't just like, he
very
wasn't like a
intelligent.
jester by any means. He was just very articulate, very intelligent, but the comic relief that the show needed.
He was a fucking survivor. That's what he was.
That's
So
right,
he had to be smart.
Yep.
Then we got Westworld.
Yes.
Good.
Westworld was probably one of my favorites. Finished season 1. Haven't gone to the next season yet, I'll be honest.
I haven't watched season 2 yet either.
3
and I love season 1.
Season 3 doesn't come until 2020.
Right. So I'm away.
Oh, I have time.
Yeah.
You do. We've talked about Westworld on this show before. Here's the thing. It's one of those shows where I've gone through. I'm not going to spoil it for you at all. I promise. I've gone through both seasons. So what are we talking? Probably 20, 22 episodes. I still got no fucking clue what's going on.
Really?
If you, I got no fucking clue.
I can't wait to get to the second season.
It's crazy.
Right.
Yeah. Like shit happens. And you're like, oh, that happened. And then 2 episodes later, something new will happen that completely erases that old revelation. So
I just like that they took everybody out of their own world and created this world that pretty much there are no laws. There
Right.
are no rules.
Right.
You could do whatever the fuck you want. And I think that's really cool because they're all done with androids.
I would love to go there.
That would be
No,
pretty awesome.
yeah,
and
who
it's like a Western type feel.
I would be the
The
guy
Wild
that
West is great.
went there and never came back.
It's the
See,
Wild
I would go, but I hope that even though it's set in the Wild West, I hope there's still air conditioning in the buildings and shit. I don't want to fucking sweat my ass off 200 degrees.
You don't
outside
want the
wearing
whole
all that shit.
experience?
I don't want that much experience. I can see why people in the Wild West killed each other so much because I know I'm miserable when I'm hot and angry, and I'm just like, "What'd you say, motherfucker?"
That's right.
So at least put some air conditioning in there.
Yeah. So favorite characters, obviously Dolores. She was she was one of those characters that you were following you. And you're like,
You kind of have a Dolores vibe.
Do I have a Dolores?
You do.
Is it the blonde hair?
No, it's
Okay.
not. You just sort of have the whole essence.
Sexy
I'll
and powerful.
shoot you?
Yes. It's
I'll
good.
shoot you if you cross
You got a Dolores vibe. Yeah, it's good. That's a compliment.
Yes.
Thank you. Dolores, Maeve was awesome.
Yes.
Maeve is great.
Loved Maeve. And Bernard. Bernard was I liked his innocence, and he didn't even know,
It's
I
awesome. You
loved it.
haven't seen season 2, so
Oh,
so much
I haven't
happened.
Would that change?
No. It's still strong. You got to watch it.
I will.
Yeah.
I absolutely will. I'm one of those people, once I start watching it, which is why I delay
You'll watch
watching
them
it,
all,
I'm going
right?
to binge.
Yeah,
I'm going to
exactly.
binge. Curb Your Enthusiasm. Another show that
Love
I really
it.
like. I love
Nice.
Jewish humor.
Love it.
Excellent choice.
It's just so funny. It kind of picks up where Seinfeld left
That's
off.
right.
Yeah. It's
The
the
one
shit
thing-
that we bitch about on a daily basis,
Yeah.
and Larry David just makes it hilarious, just like he did with Seinfeld.
I like how real it is.
You
right?
did it again.
What?
Seinfeld.
I always butcher it.
The
Seinfeld.
one thing that obviously Curb Your Enthusiasm has been on for like 15 years
has.
now,
Yeah.
right?
So
So they
long.
stopped doing it for like 8 episodes, or for 8 seasons, or 8 years. But if you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm and then you go back and watch Seinfeld, you can tell basically George Costanza is Larry David.
Yes.
I can
Like
see that.
I
they
agree
are their
100%.
characters are very parallel. So you can tell like when you go back and you watch Seinfeld which parts, because him and Jerry wrote it together, you can tell which parts that Jerry Seinfeld wrote and you can tell which parts that Larry David wrote. It's crazy.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
I have to go rewatch
Yes.
some of them then.
It's great.
Because Jerry... Did you say Jerry Seinfeld?
Yes.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
It's great.
And my final show, Flight of the Conchords. Very small series. I fucking love Flight of the
So
Conchords.
good.
Didn't they just do something a couple years ago where they brought it back
I
a little
thought they
bit?
maybe
I
did
think
a
they only
movie
have
or
2
something.
seasons,
Yeah.
though.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they have their whole like road
They
thing.
do like a tour.
They do, yeah. They
Right.
do their singing.
It's
and
like a
their-
thing they do.
Right.
It is a thing that they do. I don't know what's
I
up
can't
with
wait to hear what your
New
favorite character is on that show.
Well, I'm pretty sure you know. I mean, I love Jermaine.
Right.
I love Brett, but Murray. I
Murray!
love Murray.
He's so good.
He's so
He's so
hilarious. He's like the they're like 3 peas in a pod.
Yeah.
I've
You
never
know-
seen Flight of the Conchords.
Okay, well you have to now.
All right, so
I
have
will.
you seen
I
Yes
will.
Man with Jim Carrey?
Yeah.
So Murray is a guy
I mean, I know
who's
the
like...
people in the movie
Yeah,
in the
yeah, yeah.
show.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you
So
knew.
it's about
Yeah.
a New Zealand band,
Yeah.
2-person band,
Mhm.
who try to make it in New York. They have literally one fan that follows them everywhere.
Okay.
And the fan is the voice of Luis on Bob's Burgers.
Yes. Yes.
With the bunny ears.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the fan. I can't remember her name as an actress.
She's so awkward. Love her though.
Yeah.
But she's so funny. She fits right in.
But literally the
I'm
only
gonna
fan
watch
they
it
have.
because there's not a lot, right? Like you
It's
said,
a
2
very,
seasons.
it's like awkward humor,
And it's
I
30.
love
It's
it.
30-minute comedy on
Yep.
HBO.
It is.
Yeah, I'll
it's a
I'll
miniseries.
blow through that.
It's pretty hilarious.
I'll watch
Oh,
it.
and let's not forget Sex in the City.
Oh, you can't forget Sex in the City.
Sex in the City, 1998 to 2004. Fucking love that show. I can't even like pinpoint favorite characters. I'd say probably Carrie and Samantha because they're just awesome.
Not the whore.
Samantha is the whore.
Is she the whore?
Is she the whore? Yes, she's the whore.
She's like the old whore, right?
Yes.
See, Ryan's trying to make it seem like he's never watched the show.
Yeah,
but
he
we
is.
all know he
Wait
has
a
it like
minute.
the whole DVD box set.
Here's what I'll say.
I think you're a Samantha. No.
I am an old whore, washed up. So I watch TV while I sleep, right? I leave the TV on while I sleep.
You shouldn't
It-
do that.
I do.
Doctor Ilmama in.
Dr.
In the house.
Ilmam, I have to.
Il
I
Mama.
need it. So I need it in my life. So, but Sex in the City, is there 3 movies? 2 movies?
2
There's
movies.
2.
There's definitely 2. I don't think
So
there's a
they've
third.
been showing them on the comedy channel of HBO, and it'll like I'll wake up in the middle of the night and it'll be on, and I'll stop and I'll watch it for a few minutes before I go back to sleep. So there's one where they're in India,
Yeah.
right? So, anyways, I
That's-
haven't.
That's the first one.
I never saw the series, but I've seen parts of the movie.
If you like the movie, you'll love the series.
I wouldn't necessarily say that I like it,
Don't
but I've seen
lie.
it.
He's
I
seen
can
them
see
all.
it in your
okay,
eyes.
don't let him lie to you.
Well,
He's
the
seen
one
the
is a
whole fucking
whore,
thing.
and she got thrown in jail for jerking a guy off
Yeah,
in
she
the
did.
yeah.
But let me tell you something about
in
this
India.
whore. She's one of those
She's
self-expressive.
promiscuous.
She's a self-expressive woman.
She
Yeah.
just likes sex.
She
Leave
knows
her
what
alone.
she wants. She knows what she likes, and she goes after it. She doesn't settle.
I'm coming
and I
off
love
as
that about her.
I'm
Get
coming
it.
off as
Tell
such
the truth.
a Republican right now. Like I don't want to
And then,
stereotype
and then
her.
Carrie's like the very outspoken one. She's more of a, I'll write down my desires less than actually live them.
Yeah.
I'm more of a in line type of person.
Right.
I know what I want, but
Right.
yeah, she's
There are a lot of
unconventional. She's an
seasons.
unconventional person as well because I think she was with Big forever before
Right.
they got married.
On and off, on and off.
Yeah.
Typical.
So
It seems like the
There are a
Greensboro
lot of
story.
seasons of that show, right?
there's so much
I'm not
sex.
gonna-
How could you not like it?
I'm not going to be able to.
I hope so, 'cause
blow
it's in the
through
damn
that.
title.
Yeah.
Just like True Blood. True Blood, there's a lot of nudity
There
and
is.
sex. You will love it.
A lot of fun.
True Blood has a lot of blood.
It does have.
Sex and the City has a lot of sex.
Yes, well, both have a lot of sex.
Yes.
I love them both.
Like that list. That's a good list right there. I'm glad, being HBO, I was worried that we were going to clash, and it was like, I'm just going to repeat the same shit you're saying and the same stuff you're saying. So I'm glad that we. Yeah. I mean, some of it kind of crosses.
Her list was better than mine. I feel like mine was all like it's like going to school. Yours was like fun.
You had meaning behind it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm rethinking that whole approach now.
So for mine, I'm going to start off one of the old ones and just a little backstory here. So when we first moved to the United States, we had to stay in like hotels for like the first month while we're house hunting. Every hotel has free HBO. So HBO was kind of like our family's get together, especially the old school intro where it's like flying through the city. And I mean, that's kind of how I learned English.
Back when you were Mito.
A lot of swearing. yes, Mito or Mita.
HBO. You don't hear that very often.
Yeah. So every single hotel is free HBO. So that, it's been a part of my culture, lifestyle, whatever you want to call it.
Since the day he landed on Plymouth Rock.
Yep. And the Plymouth Rock being Johnson City, New York. So I'm going to start off with a fun little show called Tales from the Crypt. This was 1989 to 1996, 7 seasons, 93 episodes. It's the first show I just really remember not so much falling in love with, but, scaring the shit out of me to the point to where I just enjoyed it. My dad loved it. He didn't care I was 9 years old. He's like, oh, you can watch it. And I was already watching Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street and all that fun stuff by then. But, it was based on the EC comic books from the 1950s. And the intro, it's just a great intro with the Crypt Keeper coming up at the end of it. The original score by Danny Elfman, who's known from Oingo Boingo, as well as the Tim Burton films, doing the scores for Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhands, all that fun stuff.
I've never seen
it's good.
One episode. I don't like scary stuff.
He doesn't like scary stuff. So here's the shitty thing. It's not on HBO Go or on HBO Now. So if you actually want to watch Tales from the Crypt, you'd have to go to like Ed McKay's or somewhere and get the DVDs. Yeah. I only have a couple seasons.
Trade in.
Shout out to trade my Justified box set for Tales from the Crypt.
So that's the shitty thing. And I double checked before I, came here to record today. I'm like, please be on HBO. And it's not. So you can't go back and watch it, but it's fun. It's a horror anthology series. It's a bunch of our stories. It's very similar to Creepshow. Movies like that where it's different stories kind of tied in.
Kind of reminds me of Are You Afraid of the Dark too? Which is coming back around.
Yeah, this was Are You Afraid of the Dark, but HBO.
Adult version.
Adult. So there's sex, swearing, killing, violence, lots of gore.
It's pretty awesome.
Some of my favorite episodes is season 2, episode 16, Television Terror. It's about this guy that goes into this haunted house that ends up being really haunted. I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's actually one of the scariest things I've ever seen. Like, as far as the TV show goes, the episode is scary as shit. It's scarier than half the movies that are out right now.
Which one is it?
It's season 2, episode 16, Television Terror. If you have a chance to watch it, I think I own the DVD, so I'll get it to you. I'm not going to get too far into the next one. Saba covered Sopranos, 99 to 2007. 6 seasons, 86 episodes, created by our boy David Chase. The show was just fantastic. It was monumental. It was groundbreaking. I mean, I know a lot of people say, it put Italians in a bad light or whatever, blah, blah, blah. It was just a guy who had 2 families. He had his family, James Gandolfini, Tony Soprano. Then he had his mafia family, which not much difference, to be quite honest with you. He's got to take care of both, and he's struggling to take care of both at the same time. So great supporting cast. The show actually ended up winning Golden Globes for best, Edie Falco won 2 Golden Globes for best actress in 2000 and 2003. And she went on, of course, to do Nurse Jackie before she did Sopranos. She was on Oz for a couple episodes. HBO does that, by the way, not to kind of get sidetracked, but they have a way of like taking these great actors and plugging them into shows. Won Best Series Golden Globe in 2000 and same year that James Gandolfini won for Best Actor. Some favorite episodes on that: Long-Term Parking. That's season 5, episode 12 with Drea Di Matteo. I don't want to spoil this for anybody.
That's a spoiler.
So, Long-Term Parking, season 3, episode 11, Pine Barrens, where they go out looking for that dude with the Russian.
They never find him.
And then season 1, season 1, episode 5, College, where Tony and Meadow go on their college trip, and he ends up running into someone from his past.
His Gumar.
Yes. Saba already touched on Entourage. The only thing I want to say is the funny story about Entourage is HBO approached Mark Wahlberg. You know, he's an executive producer. I think this was his first project with HBO before going on to do Ballers and Boardwalk Empire and everything else he's an EP on. And they were like, listen, we'd love to do like a reality show based on you and your crew. And he was like, yeah, fuck all that. You're not going to follow me around with cameras. He goes, but my boy over here will go ahead and like write a show like loosely based on my life. So there is a real life E. There is a real life Ari. You know, those guys are kind of based on him.
So there's a real life Johnny Drama.
There's a real life Johnny Drama.
He used to just be Johnny Drama. Yeah. And now they call him the real Johnny Drama. Like, that's his fucking name.
Does he have an Instagram?
I don't know.
I need to look into that.
I'm looking it up now.
They're in the movie, in the Entourage movie when Mark Wahlberg and his entourage. Yeah, that's the actual Johnny Drama. Those are the actual guys.
And E looks a lot like E.
Yes, he does.
He's like, oh, he's a killer.
Yes, he does.
So phenomenal show.
TV.
Johnny Drama TV. Yeah, 2004 to 2011, for the longest time before The Sopranos wrapped up, it actually came on right after The Sopranos. So it was a hell of a Sunday. And I don't think it was on during football season either, if I remember correctly. So this was like a Sunday tradition where we would have like, you know, some bullshit like Italian
Your memory's not that good.
It's not. I'm getting older. 8 seasons, 96 episodes. Check it out. And then, of course, Game of Thrones. One that did not get mentioned, one of Saba and I's favorite shows, and unfortunately it was very, very short-lived. 2 seasons long, 17 episodes, How to Make It in America. Fantastic show. 30-minute episodes of just 2 dudes on the grind, just, you know, trying to make it in the fashion design world. One has the background in design, his other boy, Cam Calderon is the hustler. And, I mean, it's just, Kid Cudi's in it. He plays,
just the friend or whatever.
He's the friend.
He's like a professional dog walker.
Yes, yeah. He's a dog walker that sells weed.
Yeah.
Which that's a thing. Right.
Yeah, it's great.
It's just a great cast. It's a really, really great show. If you ever have time to, you know, if you're just bored, kind of, you've already watched everything you've watched, 30 minutes of great entertainment. I probably watch How to Make It in America both seasons. Probably 4 times a year because they're only 30 minutes long.
You watch them back
and they're
back.
8 episodes, so they're
each
season.
Yeah,
very bingeable.
It's produced by, and this is all off the top of my head, so I could be wrong on some of this. So it's produced by Hole in One Productions. I think that's what it's called. That's Wahlberg's production company. But funny or not, they also did Boardwalk Empire as well. Right. But you know, it's basically the way that it was kind of, I think, probably pitched to HBO. And also the feel that it has, it's sort of an Entourage in New York City in the fashion industry.
Right.
But, you know, when Entourage starts, Vince has just made his first movie or whatever.
Right, his first big movie. And
he's already kind of going up. What the equivalent of what How to Make It America would be is when Ari finds Vince doing the Mentos commercial.
Correct.
Because, you know, in Entourage, they refer back to where Ari found Vince. He was doing before I found you, you were doing Mentos commercials.
Right.
You know, it would have been sort of that piece basically right before where Entourage started. So it's great.
It's a great show. Honestly, a big inspiration on why I started a podcast. You know, it just shows 2 guys really trying to hustle. The season 2 ended with a bang.
Crisp NYC.
It's unfortunate. Yes. Crisp is the brand.
Is there going to be a season 3?
No.
That's the thing. There hasn't been. There's been every couple of years. There's a rumor, you know, that they're going to bring it back, which they should.
FX
you know,
has actually.
Can we start a petition?
We can't. There already is.
There is a petition really for everything.
FX. Wahlberg won't let it die. FX has actually talked about picking it up a couple times, which would actually.
That makes sense, though.
FX is really from a sort of vulgarness and
they're minor league HBO.
It's minor league HBO. So
it
would make perfect sense. So
commercialized, but
I think at this point we're talking. It's probably 10 years since it's been on. So my guess is it won't.
Anything
is possible.
Thank you, Kevin Garnett.
Well, you see some of these shows being remade by Netflix, so it's totally
That's
possible.
True. Like Full House and shit. Christ, Full House.
But I mean, the thing is, a lot of the remade shows though have been on for a lot of seasons.
Yes,
that's the thing. Well, Arrested Development was only a couple seasons, and that did get remade.
Well, that's what I mean.
So
like,
that's
it was
true.
remade on Netflix,
true. That's one of the rare exceptions.
If HBO doesn't, I bet Netflix will.
That would be the shit. I mean, like I said, Sam and I, at least once a month,
I love it.
I'll send him a text, and I'm like, God, I miss How to Make It in America.
That's probably a little exaggerated, but it does does happen a couple of times a year.
I would say once a quarter, okay?
Let's be optimistic.
So before we get into kind of the new school stuff on HBO and some more favorite characters, we're going to take a quick little commercial break for Andrew Newman, attorney at law, the best attorney in the whole entire state of North Carolina.
Yep.
We'd like to take the time to thank one of our sponsors, Andrew Newman, attorney at law. Located here in Greensboro, North Carolina, he can assist you with your criminal as well as traffic violations, and his practice includes Guilford, Forsyth, as well as all surrounding counties. To set up a free consultation, you can contact him at 336-663-2388, and you can also visit him on his website, attorneynewman.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Before we get into the newer school of HBO programming, I just want to go over a few of my characters. Nicole and Saba already said their favorites, like during the shows. I have a couple that are either on my list as far as top shows and some are off.
We followed instructions.
Yes, we did.
I said we're going to do favorite shows and then favorite characters, but it's all good.
Collab.
I mean,
There's 3 people here and 2 did it one way.
All right, so Silvio Dante.
Love him.
Played by Stephen Van Zandt, who is a guitarist for the one and only The Boss, Bruce Springsteen. E Street Band. From Sopranos. I think he's just fantastic. Renee Calderone in How to Make It in America.
What is his name in real life? Luis Guzman.
Good job. Good job.
Just recall, man.
Nice on that. You said Gyp Rossetti, but I also want to mention the gentleman that played Lucky Luciano on the show. I can't remember his name, but he was also in Jersey Boys. And that dude, I thought, just did a incredible Lucky Luciano.
Vincent.
It's Italian as hell.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like this dude is from the motherland.
Yeah, he played. Yeah, I can't. I'm not going to.
Of course, Ari Gold. There was a little series called Rome, kind of based on the Roman Empire.
2 seasons.
2 seasons,
yeah.
Correct. And there was this character Titus Pullo. If I had to compare him to someone, I would guess it would be our boy from Game of Thrones with the red hair.
Tormund. I said Tormund.
I thought you said Dorm. Yeah.
Tormund.
Close enough.
I mean, I was one syllable
I'll
off.
edit the shit out of that. So.
Please do, because I'm like...
No, you're good. So yeah, Titus Pullo from the show Rome. Very, very good show, based on the Roman Empire. Obviously, the Roman Empire wasn't like 2 years, but primarily during the rise of Julius Caesar and then what the events that happened to the downfall.
I never saw that one either.
It's good.
Deadwood obviously is one we didn't talk about. Right. When you pull up, as I was doing some research for this, just to kind of go back through and make sure I didn't miss anything. Deadwood's one that when, these Complex and Variety and those different, media magazines, they rank the HBO shows. It's up at the top. Obviously, they just made a movie. I only watched the first season of Deadwood, did not watch the second season, and did not watch the movie that just came out. So, that's one that I'll go back and watch.
So, as far as new stuff, Nicole, anything you've been watching, not just this year, but recently, let's just say like the last couple years or so, minus Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that
or
was a
interested
disaster.
in.
Watching, no, but the great thing about HBO is that they don't have commercials. They only commercialize their shows, which is, I love it. I'm kind of interested in Gentleman's Jack.
So that's, it happened already, but it's new.
Okay. It is new. I just haven't watched it.
Yeah,
I haven't watched it either.
You haven't seen the commercials for it?
No.
She kind of reminds me of like
an old Boys Don't Cry.
Yeah.
Oh,
a colonial Boys Don't Cry. I don't know.
I hope that, if we ever get a headline, I hope that's the one.
But she's like a badass. I really don't know what it's about.
Like, when we have our first review, a colonialized Boys Don't Cry.
I feel like it's a lesbian version of, Sherlock Holmes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
I think that's a good.
Now I know what you're talking about.
Which I can dig. Yeah. So
who wouldn't love a lesbian Sherlock Holmes? I mean,
obviously, I love it. I want to watch it.
That's good. That's one that I saw that, and it's got a lot of acclaim. Like I've heard people talk about how good it was.
It's one of the top shows on HBO. I googled it.
You did. Is that the only one that you have?
Yeah, that's the only one I got.
I think one on that, I don't have this written down, that just came out last year that's supposedly outstanding is the Pope miniseries with Jude Law.
I heard that was good.
They're making another one.
Yeah.
They're doing
with John Malkovich, right?
Well, Jude Law's going to be in it again.
Oh, okay.
But I think John Malkovich is in it.
Malkovich.
Yeah, everybody. John Malkovich is
we need a John
outstanding.
Malkovich episode.
I just saw what was just on the second Transformers, where he plays when Shia LaBeouf gets out of college and he goes to get a job. He's like the boss there. You're not. There's no recall. You're not remembering. Malkovich is great in that movie.
I don't remember him in that one either.
I don't at all.
It's fucking great. You got to Google it, watch it. But for me, the one that's the upcoming show that I was really interested in, it's tough, right? Because HBO has a lot. They've been on such a run of hits, continually having sort of this stable of horses. And I think right now, this is probably the first time in 15 years where, outside of Westworld, probably they don't have much right now outside of the 30-minute comedies. Veep just ended. Game of Thrones just ended, and I think they're struggling a little bit. One show that's coming is called Contraband.
Okay.
It is showrunner J.J. Abrams. There is no firm date for it. I'm thinking probably a 2021 time frame. The way they described it, and I read about it, it's an epic and intimate sci-fi fantasy drama centered on the world's battle against an oppressive force. So my guess, I'm thinking Lost, probably a Lost-style show for HBO, which I think could be really, really good.
Yeah. Because he's a producer on Westworld, right? He's one of the EPs.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but
I believe
obviously Lost was a hit. That's what brought J.J. Abrams to fame. Many of the things that he did. So, anyways, that's one that I'm looking forward to.
Nice. Some that I'm currently enjoying. I know we're in the final season of Ballers. I'm still liking it. I love The Rock. What's not to love about the guy? It's
he's
so
the
far
highest
off to
paid
it.
actor right now. Did you know that?
He should be.
Oh my god!
I'll go see any fucking movie that Rock's in.
I would too.
Right?
He gives you everything you want.
I don't ask any questions. You're like, hey, you going to see blah blah blah? I don't know. I haven't seen anything. The Rock's in it. Fuck yeah!
The Rock made a cameo. Oh, I'm there.
I'm there.
Fuck
I'm
yeah.
totally there.
So yeah, Ballers is good, but to me, of course, The Rock is great. But Rob Corddry, is that how you say his last name? His buddy on there. I think he makes the show, though. To be honest with you, that's. I'm
trying to think of his name is.
I know I'm drawing blanks all day today
because I haven't. So we're 2 episodes into the new last season.
Correct. Yeah, we still got Russell Brand to mix. So I'm not a huge fan of that. I like Russell Brand. I just don't like his character in the show. So, Ballers, Barry is a very fun, witty comedy. We ended up meeting, it is Joe Crutel. Joe Crutel. Our lovely co-host and assistant Nicole over here coming in with a W on that one.
Jesus Christ, what
you
are we doing without you?
No, I know that would have torn you up all day.
So. But yeah, Barry, very, very funny, dark comedy. Henry Winkler just won Best Supporting Actor at the Golden Globes, I believe, last year for his role in it. The Righteous Gemstones, we are 3 episodes in.
Wait, you just talked about Barry and you didn't mention NoHo Hank?
Oh, fuck.
You son of a bitch.
Damn. Yep. Crucify me for that one. NoHo Hank is the shit. He is good. That is one of my favorite characters. I'll piss off. I kept him off my favorite character list. Shit. But to me, what's the big question mark is the new Watchmen series coming out.
Yeah.
So looking forward to seeing where they go with this. We know that Dr. Manhattan's going to be in it as far as from like the movie and the comic book series. I don't know too much. And then, I mean, in the previews, they have the people wearing the yellow masks.
Yeah, the yellow outfits.
Well, those are the cops trying to hide their identity.
Okay.
But then there's a group out there that have the Rorschach masks on.
Okay.
So, we'll see. It's,
obviously the
movie
look all right. Fell flat a little bit. Wasn't great. It's, world renowned, very popular graphic novel. Mm-hmm. I think, if anybody can make it a success, it's certainly the, HBO. So the home box office.
That's right. Well, that's going to do it for
what it stands for?
Did you not
Didn't even know that.
We're educating the masses out there as always.
I'm just full of education today.
Me.
You guys went to school today.
No, I'm sure there's other people out there that are like, that's what HBO means.
Yes.
Thank you, Zero Dark Nerdy. And for saying Gentleman Jack is the colonial Boys Don't Cry. I really hope we just get that subtitle.
I don't know where that came from.
The reviews are in now.
Terrible.
Gentleman Jack, the Colonial Boys Don't Cry.
Or the lesbian Sherlock Holmes.
That's mine.
And they're both good.
From El Mama. Well, that's going to do it for us here at Zero Dark Nerdy. Make sure you check out our website, popculturepodcast.com. We got all your entertainment news, blogs, notes, all that fun stuff on there. And provided by our good friends over at Zipster. That is Zibster. Phenomenal website design and SEO services. And big shouts out to Andrew Newman, attorney at law, Four Saints Brewery, Gate City Growlers, MVP Elite Breakers. And on behalf of Nicole and Saba, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of HBO.
Peace.
Yeah! Victory! And anger management? Fuck anger management.